Morning, Rico. I hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. I know I did. Got a lot of stuff done and whatnot. But the state that never seems to let us down right now, New York. That's right, you guys. Are you ready for this? Because hundreds more cannabis licenses to be approved in early 2024, they say. When New York's Cannabis Control Board issues the next round of licenses to open legal marijuana shops in the state, it's going to be luck of the draw. The State Cannabis Control Board met Friday in Albany for the first time since the long-awaited resolution of two lawsuits that brought New York's marijuana industry to a standstill since August. In quotes, I think between now and the end of the year, we're going to see a lot more doors opening, Cannabis Control Board Chair Termaine Wright told Capitol Tonight after Friday's meeting. The nearly 4-month hiatus prevented hundreds of people issued licenses under the state's conditional adult use retail dispensary program, which focused on issuing licenses to people with past marijuana convictions from opening up shop. A week after the order was lifted, board members have turned their attention to a new priority: approving retail licenses for aspiring entrepreneurs who have already secured store space. In a quote, "We're ready to go. We just need the state to review the licenses," said Paul Suits, one of the roughly 1,500 people has space for a cannabis dispensary prepared for business and applied within the OCM's priority window to issue the state's first general adult use retail licenses. Suits and his brother co-own Lake House Cannabis in Cortland, New York, and applied when applications opened in October 4th. They traveled to Albany on Friday to tell the board they have everything they need to open their doors except the state's approval. In quotes, "We're ready to help Cortland out, to help New York, and help our country out with that revenue," Suits said. "We know it'll work. It's just a matter of when." The Office of Cannabis Management accepted licenses applications to all aspiring cannabis sellers in two groups. First, the people who secured retail space, which closed November 17th, and the current window for interested entrepreneurs to apply closes on December 18th. That's in 7 days, you guys. OCM officials say the general adult use licenses will be issued using a lottery system and approved in batches during the first quarter of 2024 on a rolling basis. In quotes, "We're looking forward to the first quarter of 2024 and to see a lot more people joining the ranks of our licenses," Wright said. The board announced Friday that they'd finished the queuing process or randomized list of the roughly 1,500 people who applied with a solidified location, and OCM officials on Friday said the board will approve 250 retail licenses of the applications submitted during that priority period that closed on November 17th. Each applicant will be assigned a number of where they are on the list, and Suits said he expects to hear from OCM where his application falls in the queue within the next 10 days. Suits is most concerned about hiring staff quickly, but New York's illicit cannabis market, with thousands of illegal marijuana shops open throughout the state, Suits added he's confident the problem will dissipate as more legal stores open. Why would these stores dissipate when more legal stores open, when those legal stores are selling year-and-a-half-old weed on top of outrageous tax rates? I have no clue about this, why he thinks that, but whatever. In a quote, he also says they want to know where their cannabis is coming from, and they want to make sure it's covered in some weird chemical or pesticide that's going to get them sick, he said. Hundreds of licenses and farmers packed the board's meeting over the last several months, often speaking for hours during the meeting's public comment period, but Friday's meeting was sparsely attended with only 7 people addressing the board. Wright is confident several more dispensaries will open in the state before the end of the year, with more than 400 approved current licenses who can work toward opening, who were previously barred by the injunction. In a quote, "Together, we're going to go through both of these processes and get people opening their doors and their businesses and impacting cannabis in New York State." Meanwhile, Cannabis Growers Showcases, or the program that allowed cannabis growers to sell their products at approved venues and public events, sunsets at the end of the year. The OCM says the legislature will need to pass a law to make the program permanent, and with the injunction lifted, enough dispensaries will open will open to sell thousands of pounds of surplus product of New York farmers have from last season. No one's going to buy that shit, you guys. Why are you guys trying to push that weed on people? In quotes, if they decide that's the direction they want us to move, we're happy to work with our legislators to get this moving, Wright said. And Senate Cannabis Committee Chair Senator Jeremy Cooney said on Friday he's disappointed that the program will sunset during the ongoing licensing process. And in quotes, I've heard from a number of growers and retailers that the Cannabis Growers Showcase are a helpful tool in the transition to the adult use program, Cooney said. I believe there is an opportunity to extend the showcases to regions without curd dispensaries or illegal retail access, and New Yorkers need more opportunities to purchase safe and legal cannabis, not less, he says. The senator is open to exploring permanent legislation next session, but is open to discussion about the board taking action to extend the program in the meantime to maximize growers' legal opportunities to sell their products. And the 2 dispensaries opened in the Capital Region on Thursday and Friday. OCM has granted its final approval to more than a dozen licensees since the injunction was lifted, with their businesses expected to open in the coming weeks. Well, New York's still trying to push this bunk-ass weed on everybody, and I don't understand why, but I want to know what you guys have to say. And this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News Hour. What do y'all think?
You know exactly why, Jason. You know exactly why.
Why? Why?
Yeah. We're coming up on. Booth? We have all these booth. Was it 18 more days? We got 20 more days left in this month. Mm-hmm. You know what it means? 20 more days to set up for that photo op, the end of year photo op that Kathy Hochul and the rest of these people will have, saying that, guess what? We did it again.
We did it again.
We made it through all you naysayers.
Guess what?
We're opening up everything.
Guess what happens? Guess what happens? Guess what happens on the day after the 31st?
What's that?
All that weed is going to be an additional year older that they're selling in all those New York stores.
Right.
That's the truth.
Why don't they just tea party that shit? Like, go right on out into the water.
Because they promised all these cultivators that they were all going to get paid for it, and that was going to be the only source of flower for the state. And so these guys are just sitting on it, expecting to sell it, expecting to get $4,000 a pound. It's asinine.
That's crazy.
And they're giving the trap.
The only thing you can do with that weed now is turn it into something edible or topical or some kind of distillate. That's it. That's all you can do with that weed now.
They're still selling it. They're still selling it. They're still selling weed.
It's a gift.
You can make RSO with it. RSO is
a gift for the bodegas out there, saying like, you guys want the fresh weed? We got the fresh.
I wonder how many people got sore throats from smoking this New York weed. Seriously,
I have a sore throat talking about the missteps of New York cannabis policy. I mean, it has not been linear at best. And when they approved the justice involved and transitioning hemp growers over to cannabis and didn't simultaneously approve brick and mortar retail, this glut of regulated supply was built into everything that they've done since. And so, it's a really sad situation for farmers to be sitting on biomass and hoping that that's going to somehow be able to be compliantly monetized in a way that is still customer centric. Nobody wants old weed. It's like French bread. When you go to the store, you be squeezing on them loaves to see what was the newest French bread that just got dropped off, and nobody wants old cannabis.
Yeah,
but you know who's going to have the new shit? The MSOs. Because they've been operating as medical operators.
Yeah, because they're just turning on the engine.
That's right.
And my friends who live in New York.
What's that, Matthew?
I don't know.
Is it my friends who live in New York? Like, all the trappers have the freshest weed, man.
They do.
The way they did this, I don't see how they're ever going to really go backwards. They kind of open up the floodgates, and there's a ton of great weed. It's just not at any of the legal shops.
I think
there's another win for the MSOs, man. They're going to have the fresh weed. The trapper's going to have the fresh weed. Then everybody else trying to operate legally.
Yeah, that is the crazy part. MSOs would have fresher weed than all the legitimate retailers. That is so true. That's probably the first time that's ever happened in any state.
I mean, what would be awesome is if the government could underwrite some reasonable remuneration for farmers who are sitting on old biomass, and all of that biomass could get put into the compassionate care column and be given to people who can't afford cannabis with the draconian tax structure, but still deserve access to clean tested medicine. We can go through those categories, whether they're cancer patients, veterans, etc. You name it, whatever. Pick a group that tugs at your heartstrings. But there is this lack of a compassion program in most regulated states. And the idea around medical cannabis was originally pioneered by people who were really trying to help patients and didn't have necessarily all the empirical science behind them, but understood at its core that it was helping people who needed it. And so how cool would it be if New York could take this and turn it into a and actually say, you know what, we recognize that in spite of the fact that we're trying to get our tax money on, there are people who probably deserve to pay zero to little, and we are going to put this into a different column, a different bracket, and let's do a redo with fresh regulated cannabis from farmers who want to get out there and do it again.
Mm-hmm.
But Yarrow, but aren't you making an argument to give, the less fortunate old medicine?
Yes, I am.
Nasty stuff that's going to hurt their immune system. That stuff is not safe. That stuff is not safe. You only can give those to like the street zombies with their fentanyl packages.
Dangerous. It's just cannabis is not inherently dangerous. It's just not inherently exciting either. It's like flat beer. It'll still get you off, but it's not going to taste as good.
Oh, it's like buying that 2.5-year-old soda that already had been opened.
Well, the best thing to do with it is to make it into RSO because it still has THC. It has CBD in it. A lot of the THC is degraded into CBN, which helps chill people out. And you can make RSO with Bacardi 151 or Everclear or neutral grape spirits really easy in your house. Just keep it away from open flames. Don't blow yourself up. But it's a very easy process to make RSO, and it works against skin conditions.
You're not going to have any people being able to go into a store and being able to buy bulk flower and turn it into RSO.
No, I'm talking about the state empowering these farms to do it.
Yeah, that's good luck with that.
Yeah. Shout out to Kathy Hochul.
I do agree with you, Matthew. That could be a solution, but it's not going to be realistic in this world that we currently live in now. But nonetheless.